Hello everyone and welcome back to the Roundup. This week we are going through best ball fades and fantasy schedule takeaways, so let's get into it. The NFL released the full 2024 schedule last week, and there are two quarterbacks we need to talk about, Jared Goff and Tua Tagovailoa, because they could have very different ends to the season. So we are going to be breaking down the weather impacts from the 2024 NFL schedule release. Make sure you go to fantasylife.com though. This full article from Ian Hartitz is live and 100% free. So I said we're going to be talking about two quarterbacks, and I want to talk first about Jared Goff. And if there's one takeaway from this show that you get, it is draft Jared Goff in any moment in time in best ball drafts right now, because when we look at his schedule, he's not forced to play outside until November. That's when they travel to Lambeau Field and take on the Packers, and we know the storyline with Jared Goff, right? He's not good outdoors, but I'm really glad Ian Hartitz pointed this out. For his career, he's averaged 7.37 yards per attempt in domes and 7.4 outside. When we look at other splits like the passer rating, completion rate, they're both in favor of playing indoors. But I think that we have to look at Jared Goff and just say, you know what, he's going to be a great fantasy quarterback. The schedule is right in his favor, not having to play outside until November. And when we look at other splits, like he had a great game outside against the Buccaneers. He had great games outside against the Panthers for the past two seasons. So again, if you take anything away from this, it is draft Jared Goff, draft as much as you can. At least that's what I'm going to do. Now, Tua Tagovailoa is a whole different story when we look at it. He said winter is coming for Tua Tagovailoa, and I think that when we look at this schedule for them, it does get a little ugly. Week 11 against the Raiders, Week 12 against the Patriots. You've got the Packers, Jets, Texans, 49ers, Browns, and Jets. Very, very difficult schedule there. So when we look at it too, Tua Tagovailoa has posted top 5 numbers in EPA per dropback, completion percentage over expected, and PFF passer grade among 36 qualified quarterbacks since 2022. But when we look at his fantasy points per game by month since joining Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill, it's not that great. We can see in September 22.1, but then you continue to go down. October 18.7, November 16.9. We look at December 14.1, and January sitting at 10. So the schedule is going to look a little bit daunting for Tua Tagovailoa. I know that we love the group that he has around him. We love his wide receivers. We love Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. They've got great running backs, but just be a little bit cautious when you look at this schedule for Tua Tagovailoa and company, because this gauntlet of teams is going to be really tough to come out of. Now, last week we went through some best ball targets. Now this week we need to go through best ball fades at ADP. Some of the names you're not going to like, but let's go through it. So before we get into these best ball fades, I just want to say, don't hate the player, hate the ADP. That's another shout out to Ian Hartitz, because we really don't hate these players. We just hate where they're currently going on Underdog. So let's start with Josh Jacobs here. He has an Underdog ADP of 37.6 that puts him at RB10, but now he is with the Packers. That is a much more productive offense than the Las Vegas Raiders. So I want to believe that he is going to play closer to the 2022 version that we saw than the 2023 version. I don't think that necessarily means that he's going to finish as the RB4 in points per game, but I think he's going to do a hell of a lot better than finishing as the RB18 in points per game. When we look at this offense though, and specifically when we looked at how Aaron Jones played with AJ Dillon, that's where I paused just a little bit, because Aaron Jones only saw 60% of the rushing attempts in 3 of his 11 regular season games with the Packers. AJ Dillon saw at least 40% in 12 of his 15 games. So if we believe that he is not going to have a stranglehold on this backfield, right? You're still going to have AJ Dillon. I know, not a super sexy name, and they went out and drafted Marshawn Lloyd. I'm just going to pause a little bit when drafting him on Underdog, because his price tag is really high. Like I said, our ADP right now, 37.6, puts him at RB10. I think that he is going to perform way better than 2023, like I said, but I'm just not willing to pay that price just yet. The other player I want to talk about here is Xavier, wide receiver for the Chiefs. They just drafted him, Underdog ADP 57.5. That is wide receiver 32. There's a lot of things at play here, because we know when the Chiefs add wide receivers, especially with Patrick Mahomes, our eyes are going to widen just a little bit, because we love the idea of Patrick Mahomes getting a new weapon. We are waiting on Rashee Rice and what the suspension for him is going to look like in the season, so that puts another layer into it. But I think with Xavier Worthy, we know he's fast, and again, he's playing with Patrick Mahomes, so we hope he's going to be good. But we have to remember they also have Marquise Brown, they also have Travis Kelce, so I think he is, like we say right here, he is worthy and capable of stretching the field, but he's stepping into a role where he's likely the number 3 pass catcher, maybe at best. And I know some of you are maybe going to push back on that, but like I said, Marquise Brown, presumably the wide receiver 1. You've got Travis Kelce. Depending on what the Rashee Rice suspension looks like, that's going to be put in there as well. So I think that Xavier Worthy is a great player and that he is going to make a difference on this Chiefs team. But when we look at the price tag, when we look at his underdog ADP of 57.5, wide receiver 32, I think we can wait just a little bit and see if we can get that price tag to fall just a bit. Because like Joe Metz said in this article down here, I'd rather wait another round and potentially go get Marquise Brown. So that's just something to think about. All right, that was the roundup. As always, make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Check out all those articles that we just talked about. They are 100% free, along with our projections, our rankings, everything you need to get through this offseason. We'll see you next time.